Greetings and welcome to David's Way Cooking. I'm David. Let's do this. Today we're gonna make Swedish meatballs and I'm gonna tell you the truth about Swedish meatballs. But before I tell you the truth, we're gonna make them. So first of all, we have a bowl and about 100 mils of breadcrumbs and half cream, half milk, about 150 mils approximately. And it's really important to let the breadcrumbs soak in the cream and the milk. Otherwise they will taste kind of dry and not very good. A little bit more. Maybe 200 mils totally. Number two, we're gonna chop an onion. This is a medium-sized onion and we're actually gonna cut it relatively finely and then we're gonna fry it up. We have some rapeseed oil and a knob of butter for the flavor. And then we're gonna put in our onions to let them become soft and translucent. You don't have to put a lot of color on it if you don't want to. The most important thing is to cook them a little bit so that the kind of sulfur components breaks down and it becomes sweet and delicious. And just let it cook for a couple of minutes, up to 5 minutes maybe. That's all you really need. If you like the flavor of a little bit more raw onions, you can absolutely put raw onions in your meatballs. That's just a preference thing. When I used to work in kitchens, we always fried up our onions before putting it in our meatball mixture. All right, and now our onions have cooked for a couple of minutes. They're just starting to become soft and translucent. We'll just work the onions a bit into this. We're actually going to use a little bit more milk and cream to loosen this up a little bit. And that also helps with making the meatballs a little bit creamier and fluffier. So I think we're maybe 250 mils. And then we're gonna season this. I love black pepper, so be generous with the black pepper. And of course, salt. 1 heaped teaspoon, a little bit more. And then we're gonna take about 700 grams of mincemeat. This is pure beef, but traditionally it was made with a mixture of beef and pork. And then it's just mix it all and really get in there and mix this thoroughly. And now we're gonna roll the meatballs, but there are a couple of things to think about. First of all, you can wet your hands and that will actually make it a little bit easier to roll the meatballs because it won't stick to your hand. Or you can put a little bit of oil on your hands. I usually don't really bother, but I usually put a little bit of oil on the plates I'm gonna put them on because they won't stick. So, and now I have a little bit of oil on my hands, so why not? And do not push hard to compact them. You want them light and fluffy. I personally don't really like my meatballs that big because I really want to be able to take one in my mouth in a bite, basically. But it's really important to make sure that all your meatballs are the same size, approximately, because then they will cook at the same time. And now we rolled our meatballs, and you don't have to make them this way. This is just a very basic traditional way of making them. I love to have garlic in my meatballs, and you can also grate down a carrot for more flavor and more juiciness. It's all up to you. So I started my pan. I'm gonna heat it up, put a little bit of oil and a knob of butter. And just place them in. Meatballs are actually great to just make a huge batch and then freeze them. They're just excellent for that. And just take out the ones you're gonna eat, and you always have a nice homemade meal ready. And right now I use around medium-high heat. So you don't want to scorch the meatballs, but you want them to caramelize on the surface. And caramelization, aka Maillard reaction, happens at around 154 degrees Celsius. So you really want to take them up at least to 154 Celsius. And obviously we're there because they're brown on the surface. And you can also do like this, that you actually brown the surface, take them out and then freeze them immediately. Then they're raw in the middle, but they will be perfect when you cook them the next time. And we're gonna serve them with boiled potatoes, gravy sauce, and lingonberry jam. But I mean, you can use these meatballs to serve with pasta and a tomato sauce. I mean, they're excellent for that as well. And if you want to go a little bit more extravagant, you can always add like thyme and basil and whatever you want to make them a little bit more Italian style if you want to, if you're going to serve them with a tomato sauce. All right, and now we're going to make our gravy sauce, which is called a brown sauce in Sweden, which is just ridiculous. Don't know why. But we have our cream and half cream, half milk. And we're gonna put in 300 mils approximately. And then we're gonna add our demi-glaze slash stock. And if you want to know, it's a beef stock. I'm gonna add some pepper, some salt, and a tiny drop of Chinese soy sauce just for the coloring. Like so. And we're gonna bring this up to a simmering. A little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, like so. We're actually gonna put a little bit more of soy to make it a little bit darker and give it a little bit more body. Excellent. Gonna taste. Nice, really nice. All right, and now it's boiling, so I'm turning down the heat to its lowest settings, and I'm just gonna thicken it with some thickening granules. You can of course use, either start with a roux, or you can absolutely make like a beurre manière if you want to, and thicken it with. And this is a sauce that you want relatively thick, and you want this a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna add some more thickening. Make sure that you whisk it properly so it actually distributes and melts into the sauce. Then we're gonna taste. Great, and we're done. We're just gonna plate it. And here we have the potatoes, we have our meatballs, and we're just gonna take some gravy sauce. Just let it be generous with the sauce because it's delicious. And this is kind of a rustic, really nice peasant dish. So you want some tartness from the lingonberry jam to go with it to kind of break through all that heaviness. And be quite generous. And that's how you make Swedish meatballs. And the truth about Swedish meatballs, which I know you have waited for, is that Swedish meatballs aren't Swedish at all. They're actually Turkish. Charles XII went to Turkey in the 1700s, and he came home with a lot of exciting dishes, including meatballs. So they're not Swedish, they're Turkish. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I see you next time.